Hello, Loveland. I'm Mike Meldon, and this is your Loveland Weekly Podcast, brought to you by Gina Dubell-Smith, eXp Realty, and Stone Pillar Farm. Sorry I missed you again last week, but as many of you know, I am a school teacher, and these are our first couple weeks back, so I had that a little bit more on my plate, and then I had a couple interviews that got canceled, or one I actually missed because of traffic driving home from the west side where I teach to home. So just kind of hectic. Things are a little bit hectic lately, but we're back. And so today we have a double episode, so hopefully that maybe makes it up a little bit. I had the privilege of meeting with both Karen Brownlee and Brad Combs at the Loveland Eagles last week. First, you'll hear my conversation with Karen Brownlee, who is running for state representative of Ohio's 28th District. Now, please bear with us as Karen and I occasionally go off on a few tangents here and there. But as you'll see, these moments reveal who Karen truly is and what she really cares about. We had a really great conversation, and I think you'll like it. Following that, we'll hear my talk with Brad Combs, who is running for Clermont County Commissioner. Brad has a great story to share, and like Karen, he is running with a purpose. I've known Brad online for a little while, but it was the first time we got to meet face-to-face, and he's such a good guy, and I think you're really going to see who he is from our conversation. So, I was really lucky to get to speak with both Brad and Karen, and I believe that they are both what voters need. They are smart, caring, and passionate public servants dedicated to working for the people of their community. So, please remember them when you head out to the polls on November 5th. Today is Wednesday, September 4th, 2024.
I was born and raised in the suburbs of Kansas City, Missouri, on the Kansas side, yeah. And had, I think, a pretty charmed life, charmed childhood. I am one of 4 sisters. So okay. I myself am an identical twin.
Very good.
And, I think lived like that kind of free life of the 1970s and 80s that we...
yeah, it was different.
Yeah, it was different. There was no cell phone. There was no connectivity. Mm-hmm. We were gone, and despite the fact that I know we lived in Kansas, but we lived in the suburbs. And my dad, when we were probably 8 or 10, my dad installed. He must have found it at a fair, at an antique store. I don't know where he found it, but he installed a bell, like a dinner bell, outside our garage door. And it was pretty funny because it made a huge difference in our neighborhood. When he rang it, it was like the end of the day.
Yeah,
it worked for the whole neighborhood.
Our generation gets exactly what you're saying right now. Because we, like you said, you have kids. Do you have kids now?
I do. I have
and I have kids, and I can't imagine being the parenting that our parents were and letting us roam. I don't know, you did, right? You were out for hours.
Yes.
Parents didn't know where we were. And I can't imagine doing that with my kids now. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, so I'm a mental health therapist. I work with kids and families, and we have such a different, I see that because I work with a lot of parents, of course, in doing this. And I'm a parent myself of 3 Gen Z kids.
Yeah.
And the difference with which we parent, I think, is really twofold. On the one hand, there is this intense culture of fear. And we have 24-hour-a-day news cycles. The first time I recall seeing like all-day news coverage, I don't know how old I was, but I was 8, 10 range. It was when President Reagan was shot.
Oh, yeah.
And it was on for hours. And, the whole country was worried, and we were glued to the television, or at least my parents were glued to the television.
Sure.
But that kind of forced news cycle, and then, of course, having access to these tiny little computers that we carry around in our pockets all day, it's like nonstop information. And our brains are wired for conflict.
Mm-hmm.
Our fear centers, it's called the amygdala.
Mm-hmm.
I hope I can talk about the amygdala
Of course.
on Loveland
Yeah, I love it.
podcast. But our brains are wired for conflict. It's how we learn. It's how we grow. So our brains are necessarily wired towards paying attention and paying strict attention to anything that makes us worry or scares us.
Yeah.
For good reason,
Sure.
right? It keeps us alive.
Right.
And so I know I'm supposed to be talking about my
No, I
childhood,
love this.
but-
This is great.
Okay. So that is, I think, one big piece of what has changed parenting.
Can I add something?
Yeah, please.
Because I'm actually going to ask you what you think, because I was thinking about this the other day.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking, and this is nothing against my parents, obviously. It was the generational thing. Every parent did it. But I felt like, as my parents, I wanted to show love and the, comfort more.
Mm-hmm.
And I think our generation maybe lacked that a little bit. Could you see that side of it too, where we didn't feel that, like, hey, well, okay, you're home. Great. See you later. You know what I mean? I felt like maybe it might be a response to that too.
Oh, I think there are definitely generational differences in parenting.
Mm-hmm.
Our parents, my parents were the silent generation.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what yours hailed from, probably the same.
Yeah.
And their parents were definitely more, I would say, standoffish.
Mm-hmm.
I guess for me, I did not have that experience.
Mm-hmm.
My mom, who also became a social worker and did therapy with kids, she and I share this absolute love for child development. She was a teacher.
She was in
before
tune
that.
with, yeah.
Very, very much so. So I felt a lot of nurturing and comfort, but there definitely was a difference in how they were supposed to parent, whereas we were, I think, told to give that, and it was definitely a response. And
Mm-hmm.
I think the baby boom generation definitely felt that from the greatest generation who toughed through,
Oh, sure.
wars and
Great
depression. Yeah, all that big stuff. So I do think that generationally we have different parenting ideals
Mm-hmm.
than our parents did.
Yeah. And it's going to change again.
Absolutely.
They're going to react off of whatever the heck we're doing, and it's going to change again. But the thing, when you said the bell, that struck a chord. I mean, I can imagine if I heard that, I can imagine being out and hearing that bell, and it would change. Everybody in the neighborhood would be like, oh, it's.
Well, it kind of I think the parents loved it. The kids were mad because
sure, it's time.
we couldn't
it's
just
the end.
pretend like we weren't
It's
hearing
the
the bell.
end.
Yeah,
You better be home, right?
exactly. So, I think it was mixed reviews.
Sure.
But I think on the other side of, we have that sort of culture of fear going.
Mm-hmm.
On the flip side, there is a real culture of fear because a lot of things are really scary right now. And I know I'm jumping ahead in this interview, but that's why I got into politics.
Good. Yes.
Because gun violence and our environment, the
Mm-hmm.
health of our environment,
Mm-hmm.
those are the top two issues I hear about from kids.
Mm-hmm.
And they are real. I cannot tell you how many kids I have worked with who are around guns, who have lost loved ones, who have witnessed multiple instances of gun violence. And that is not an anxiety disorder
Mm-mm.
because it's real. This is an existential threat.
Yes. It's so interesting, though. Your constituency, you're talking about kids.
Mm-hmm.
You never hear that. That's amazing. That's really cool.
And so thank you for saying that, because my focus is very much on the future.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of legacy are we going to leave our kids and our grandkids?
Definitely. Yeah.
And, with our children, the Gen Z generation, who they really have come of age in a very highly conflictual time and scary time. And on top of it, all of this doom scrolling and constant access to at least perceptions of danger.
Sure.
We got to clean it up for them.
Mm-hmm. And not scare them more too, because the politics of fear come into play. It's bad enough that there is real They're real things to be scared of.
Yes.
But then when people add to it and add maybe fear that's not as prominent, but try to scare people even more. I mean, that's just, our society's a different place.
And it creates a society where we get very closed off from people because it's a lot safer. And it's funny because if you look at research, despite the fact that gun violence is the top killer of kids and youth now, kids in general are safer. They do fewer drugs. They get pregnant later because they're all at home in their rooms on these phones, you know. And I'm not saying that's totally widespread.
No.
There is real existential danger out there, but their perceptions of fear are so high. And our job, and I say this in literally every clinical training I've ever done, our job as adults is to keep kids safe. That is the bottom line. We are the adults, so we need to adult better because right now our young people feel really, really scared. I think our middle-aged and older people feel scared too. So how do we come together and do a job of adulting where we keep other people safe? It is a contract with one another. I can't guarantee safety for everybody because we all have to agree on that. But
that's a government role.
It is.
That's a government role. I teach in my class right now, you know, the social contract. You know, we give you the government power, and in return, they promise certain safety. They protect us in certain ways. So yeah, it's a integral part of what we expect from our leaders.
It is. And I think from a school standpoint, you know, I've done a lot of trainings with teachers and administrators, and the people who work in schools need that same contract. Schools have a lot of weight on them to keep kids safe, and you're underfunded. And at the same time, the government isn't making laws to keep you guys safe. So it doesn't seem like a fair deal.
No, it's definitely an interesting time. And it's funny too. As a teacher, I don't feel even free to speak to it that much. Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. I know I have to ask, what's the reason for that?
Wow. And that's just funny. It's a small community, right? And everything you say is looked at under a microscope. And I don't live in the community that I teach, as we discussed. And I grew up in the community that I teach. It's my alma mater. Okay. So I have a special place in my heart for it. And I don't think it's different than anywhere else. So it really doesn't make that much of a difference. I just think that, you know, levies are so combative right today.
Right.
And teachers learn quickly. And then, you know, and I'm a history teacher. I can't speak about, I teach a class called Modern World Issues. Half the issues I used to speak about 6, 7, 8 years ago, I don't speak about anymore. I can't.
Interesting.
We're not allowed to. We're not allowed to show a lot of different things that I used to show. And so we learn quickly, you will be reprimanded. You know?
Wow.
And I'm not saying my administration is bad or they're tough on you. And things change year to year, but you know, I've been in the same school district for a long time, and you know, it adds up. It adds up, and maybe 5 or 6 years ago, it might have been worse than it might be now, but those things stick with you. You're not going to risk it. You know, this is my bread and butter. This is my family. So we have learned to be quiet overall, you know, and that doesn't mean I take away everything. I still, you know, state a lot of what I believe in on Facebook or this and that. But when it comes to talking about specific issues that deal with me in my school, yeah, you learn that, okay, I could tell you in private or whatever, but in public, no, I'm not going to put myself out there to be that martyr.
Wow.
Which is a shame. And I think you talk to a lot of teachers, they probably feel the same way.
That's really upsetting because teachers have this incredible role and incredible sphere of influence. And part of that sphere of influence is to teach kids how to think critically and to have these conversations so we don't end up in the future where we are now, where it's just ugliness and I'm right and you're wrong. Life is about getting along with people with whom you may or may not disagree. And I don't know any two people in the world. I'm so lucky and so I'm even proud of my marriage because I've had this partnership of 25 years with my husband, and we care about each other so deeply. Our values are so well aligned, and we disagree all the time.
Yeah, sure.
Because that's just part of life.
That's good. Yeah.
And we overcome all of those disagreements, or maybe we don't. There are a couple things, especially that have come up through this me running, where we violently disagree on, and it's okay to agree to disagree.
Sure. And we need to make sure that these kids understand that, things like, that we used to do. And again, I'm not going to put this on any district or my administration. It's just things you learn that you're not as comfortable doing it. Now, Can I say I couldn't do it? Of course I couldn't do it. Right. But do you want to deal with the repercussions? But things like debate in class, hey, assign a side and let's debate, which you do learn things like you're talking about. You learn that, hey, we're not arguing.
And what do the kids hate the most on debate? When they get assigned to the side they disagree with.
Yeah, but
that's where they learn the most.
I was going to say they learn the most, and they end up being like, that's the biggest lesson.
Yeah.
Whoa. I looked at it from a different perspective.
Exactly.
This is huge. I mean, I remember that. I remember that feeling. I remember what I was given. I remember that when I was in 8th grade. And it's a shame that we feel like that we could get in trouble by doing those types of things.
That is a shame.
And I think, and a lot of people listening to this may say, I teach that and I still do that and I have no problem. And I get that. And I thank you for doing that. Right. And I appreciate that. And things, as anything with the business I'm in teaching, things come and go. They change a lot.
I want to point out the funding, though, like you said, getting a levy passed is nearly impossible. Where we're sitting right now and has had a lot of trouble with levies over the past. My kids are in a district where levies have had a huge amount of support. And the reason levies are so prevalent right now, doesn't matter what socioeconomic status the community of the district is, it's because at the state level, it's been underfunded for 30 years.
Yeah.
So that doesn't just go away. It actually compounds. All that, even if we were to fund it perfectly today, all of that lack compounds over the years and over the decades. And we are, having sat in schools and provided therapy, having done lots of trainings in schools, teachers, administrators, they're really stuck between a rock and a hard place. So I absolutely do not want to, I don't think it's your fault in any way, shape, or form how you respond. I also think it's extremely shameful that policymakers have been attacking schools and teachers and educators in general for thinking critically, for their constitutional freedom of speech, for taking care of our children so well. Nobody's perfect. There are certainly teachers out there who may not be so great.
Sure.
There are certainly administrators who may be not so great. But for the most part, we've got all these amazing people you guys are willing to go out there every day and teach classrooms full of kids and take care of our children with us. And for us to bully you from the State House is absolutely unacceptable to me.
Yeah, there's a big disconnect. And I think you're right. And I think that, things can turn the other way. But I mean, I think teachers have a lot to say.
Yes.
And we're not saying it right now. There's a lot coming down from the State House that's wrong. We could get into that. I could talk for a long time about that.
Behavioral health right behind you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I don't know if we're just waiting because it is hitting ahead. And us teachers, the funny thing about teachers, and it's funny we're going on these tangents, but I think it's an interesting conversation. I think people enjoy it. Is people don't realize or do realize we are by ourselves all day.
Yeah.
I have some awesome aides that I have in my classroom, but they're working with students and I'm doing my work and working with my students. And it's not like any other business. I mean, essentially, in my lunch, we get 20 minutes. I sit in my classroom. We are not rallying up the troops. We are not making these, plans of indoctrinating anyone,
Of course not.
Right.
To assert that is ludicrous. It's very offensive.
It is. It's very offensive. And so these things that I get to talk about when I say I'm afraid to do this or hesitant, I should say more hesitant. I'm looking out for my career and my family. I think it is because we feel like we're out on our own. There aren't many opportunities for us teachers to get together, to talk, to really put out our grievances and to put out our ideas. Don't do that at a staff meeting. You don't do that. The old idea of teachers' lounges don't exist anymore. Whether people realize that or not. You barely have
time to.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Not that anybody smokes anymore, but you don't have time for a smoke break.
We don't interact.
Right.
We really, really don't. I, except for my aides who are amazing, like I said, and I speak to them here and there about a particular student or this and that. And my principal may stop in, who's awesome, and say hi. I don't talk to an adult during my school day more than probably 20 minutes. And that's not one conversation. That is many conversations added up.
Yeah.
So yeah, it adds to where this feeling of being alone and not a group to fight with you. Yeah, we have a union. But like I said, to get these ideas together, it doesn't exist. And maybe one day it will. As we slowly talk to somebody, you run into somebody in the hallway and you're like, ooh, what about this graduation policy? What about how we're putting through kids that, fail my class? What do they have to do to make up my class? Those types of conversations. And we see that, we all kind of agree on these things. I think it'll come around.
I hope so. As you're talking, social workers and mental health providers, we're just right behind you. And we do all of our work in these very, one-on-one or with families, and we're always alone and moving through our day in this autonomous space.
Sure.
But working at a school, it's funny, for me was such a pleasure. And I think it's just the core of kind of who I am, because I always reached out to all the teachers as much as I could to work with them and collaborate. And that's where the work gets done. It's not in a silo.
No, you can't. Yeah. And you're working with, you're meeting with kids all day.
Right. But
so
the most powerful, I will tell you, probably one of the most powerful sessions I ever had was with a teacher and one of my clients, 8-year-old second grader. And he really struggled with attachment. And this teacher said, I would be happy to come to a session with you guys.
Oh, wow.
And great. She did. And it was just simple joining, just, being together.
Break down walls.
Right. And her paraprofessional, I thought this paraprofessional was totally against what I was doing. Turns out it was total opposite.
That's
she
awesome.
said, I'd love to do the same thing. And they both made that effort. And working with that child, working with those teachers, working with the administrators at that building was, I wouldn't say it's perfect.
No.
Lots of people did not want to work with me or maybe didn't agree with what I was going after. But the ones where we worked together and the families joined together.
That's it.
That's where we made the progress.
Like everything else, right?
Yeah.
When we all come together. Exactly. What got you into politics?
What got me into politics? That is such a good question. I feel like a lifetime, but also a brief moment. So I've always been interested in it. I was born really right around when Nixon resigned. So there were a lot of feelings in my youth and, lots of commentary about politicians. And I thought, for whatever reason, it piqued my interest. And the reason I have gotten into it was really through social work, through therapy, working in community mental health with kids who are at the whim of the world around them, who do not have the agency to make the change that they need. I felt like I was treating kids for symptoms and for diagnoses that had nothing to do with their intrinsic selves, but rather the environment, whether it is, the crushing down of what poverty level means or the cracking up of the social safety net over the last 20, 25 years.
What about bullying?
Oh, bullying. Tell me more about bullying. Like you mean like
just
by
in
the
general,
world?
just social media. Yeah. I mean, I'm just saying, do you deal with that a lot? Yeah.
I do, but I felt like it was even a more sort of just a grander issue even of, like our adults are bullying one another. They're bullying kids. So, I mean, it's all this stuff that puts families under tremendous stress. Their kids then are born into a system of tremendous stress. And these kids don't have, a lot of my clients have been through things that in their very few precious years that most of us as adults can't even conceive of.
Yeah.
And so to be under that chronic stress, it makes people sick. And I want to, as a social worker, I want to treat the root of an issue, not just Band-Aid the symptoms. And I feel like I was trying to put Band-Aids on a heart attack.
Yeah. Wow. So now you're running. What are your goals?
My goals are to be part of a state house that wants to create policy that represents the voters. That is my ultimate goal always. I believe in this representative republic that we created, as imperfect as it might be. And I just truly believe that we've gotten very far away from that. I know this is not a particularly popular view with politicians, but I think it really starts with campaign finance. That would have to be fixed first. I'm not saying that I'm going to get there in the next year, but if I can bring it up and keep bringing it up and create those movements. So we're going to end gerrymandering. That's going to help.
I love it. Yeah.
But campaign finance has to be a part of it. And as long as we have politicians that are beholden to special interest groups, that is always going to lead to decisions that do not serve all the people.
What was that Supreme Court case?
That was Citizens United.
And that changed everything.
It changed everything. It wasn't great before that. But that
made it a much bigger hill to climb.
Yes.
Yeah. So, what would you like to add? What would you like to say to the voters?
What would I like to say to voters? I think, wow, that's such a big question. Where do I go with that? Well, first I want to thank you for giving the opportunity.
Well, I want to have you back. I think we have a lot to talk about. We won't talk about you running, but I think we could talk about a lot of great things. That. So let's do that. Let's plan on that someday. Once the election season is
think that would be wonderful.
Okay, cool.
What do I want voters to know? I think that, I hope that voters are looking for somebody who's responsible and they can trust with complicated decisions. I do not have silver bullet answers for everything. Being a behavioral health specialist, we have lots of different interventions, just like with teaching. You have lots of different methods to teach for different kids because we're all a little bit different. We all have these big complex problems called ourselves that we've got to come together. And the problems that we have societally are the same way. So I listen as much as I talk. And I want to bring compassion and intelligence and also a very high level of ethics. I am a social worker. We've got a code to that decision making and work in collaboration with others to make something real where we not only feel better about our lives, but where you guys can forget that the State House exists for a while.
Yeah.
And know that we're doing our jobs to serve you.
My name is Brad Combs. I'm running for Clermont County Commissioner. I grew up in Springdale, Ohio. I was raised by a single mom. My grandparents helped out until I was about 11 years old, and then they moved away. Home ran away from me when I was 15.
Wow.
Yeah, I said that right. Home ran away from me. finished high school, got into the trades. I'm a union electrician. I've been doing that for 20 years. I've served my local as an elected officer for the last 10 on our executive board. Happily married since barely out of high school, and I've got 3 awesome kids.
How old?
My kids are 17, 14, and 2.
Whoa.
Yes.
Wow. See, we have a big, my family has a distance in between kids too, but, man, my youngest is now 9. So 2-year-old, that's a lot.
It is a lot.
But you got help. You got the older kids to help, right? So 17, 14, yeah, they're not really going to help a lot though.
Our 14-year-old is going to be a great dad. He's awesome. He helps all the time. They're best friends. It's great. My 17-year-old is busy at school and at work.
Where are they working?
He is working at Kings Island.
Oh, great.
So once the season's over, he'll be looking for something new, but we'll tackle that when time comes.
That's perfect.
I mean, let me just say this. I don't know. This is the first time we've actually met in person, right?
Yes.
But we've seen each other online for, I don't know, years. Yeah, it's been 5-6 years.
The first big levy push for Loveland, I'd say.
I guess so. Right. So
6 years now.
So I've known him through Facebook. We became Facebook friends, and we pretty much lean the same direction on a lot of things. We agree on a lot of things politically. And so what finally, I guess, pulled the trigger for you? Because I mean, obviously you've been politically involved and caring about these things. What actually pulled the trigger?
So my political involvement goes back to being a kid. Like I said, home left me, which, it gave me a deeper understanding of how the system works and an acknowledgement of how the system could work better to serve people like me and people who had it. I was blessed. I've had a lot of opportunity in my life, and I've been able to take advantage of it. But every opportunity I had was one that somebody else had to miss out on. And that's
wow. That's an interesting way to look at it.
What finally pulled the trigger for me was, preface this by saying that I'm qualified for the office. I want the office. I am able to do this job. I also live in Clermont County. It's red. Hitting 40% is a big deal out there.
Yep.
Somebody in the county approached me to run for office, just so that there would be a choice. I agreed. They've been talking to me, pressing me to do this for years. Finally agreed because, having a toddler at home is the perfect time.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
And when I got into it, it was so people would have an option. I was going to run a race. I always planned to run a race. And then I saw a Facebook post from one of the volunteers at Clermont County's animal shelter about the conditions there. I went out there. I went through orientation. I volunteered. I saw the conditions firsthand. Made a couple social media posts about it. Made sure the sitting commissioners knew that I knew about it and I was going to run on it, fully expecting them to do the sensible thing and fix the problem.
Sure. Yeah. Right.
Instead of doubling down.
Wow.
So that really showed me what kind of leadership we've got out there. And it introduced me to what one party rule, where even the primaries are generally uncontested, turns into.
Right.
And the longer I've done this, the more people I've talked to from around the county, I've found out about the atrocious turnover rate in job and family services and the impact it's having on kids who are where I was or worse when I was their age. And it's not okay.
No.
So they know the problems. There are solutions to the problems.
But that's not why they're there. So in many cases, right? Why do you, in your opinion, why did people take that job?
Because, to quote somebody running for the same office in Hamilton County, it's 2 days a week for $80,000.
Wow. I did not realize.
It's not 2 days a week.
No, not if you care.
Absolutely not.
Not if you are doing the job. Exactly.
Yeah, if you do the job, it's not 2 days a week at all.
A lot more.
But it's an easy gig. You show up, you go to a meeting, somebody's got some briefs together for you. You sign off on what needs to be signed off on. You give the tax abatements to the people who want the tax abatements. And then you go on about your business. It shouldn't be that.
How are you going to be different?
Day one, try to change the culture within the office. I mean, obviously, if the person who's running with me doesn't win, I will be the sole seat with 2 opposing views. So no promises.
So there are three members.
There are 3 members.
Okay.
2 are up for election this year. I'm running against Bonnie Batchelor, and Jen Mazzucchelli is running against David Painter.
Okay.
But day one out of the gate, there has to be a culture change. There has to be a willingness to acknowledge our own shortcomings and our own experience gaps. And we need to bring in the people who know what the problems are and sit them down with people who know how to fix the problems. And then as an elected official, it's my job to listen to them and figure out how to make it work. And that might involve bringing in more people who know how to fix things, but those people are out there. You just have to find them and listen to them.
You have a big uphill battle because of, you know, and I just want to add this. When we were growing up, you're probably a little bit younger than me. How old are you?
Just turned 44 last week.
44. I'm 48. Okay. I don't know about you. You kind of knew political parties existed, but you didn't grow up really knowing like, I am this, right? I remember looking it up when I was like literally in college to try to figure out which side I was on, because you don't know. Now, if you ask a normal 15-year-old, they know, right?
They do now. Yeah.
They do now. Right. It's a big dichotomy here. And so red stay red, blue stay, we try to do that. How are you going to get past that?
I'm going to get past that by being me. I'm blue collar. I go to work in construction every day with my tools. My tool is not a computer. I go out and I work every day. You know, I live and exist in the same economy as most of Clermont County. Median income wise, I'm right there. I don't have, I don't sit on some high perch. I'm there with people. I understand where they are.
You're that.
So I can lead from that standpoint. I also am very adamant about the fact that social issues have nothing to do with the office I'm seeking. I'm not going to win people who are hyper-focused on social issues. I'm not. No amount of good leadership is going to sway them at the county level. They're going to vote their party line ticket. They're going to vote their core identity, their political identity. And I can't combat that. But that's a tiny minority of people.
Sure.
Most folks on both sides they want somebody who's going to listen.
Yeah.
They want somebody who is going to work for the best interest of as many people as possible. They want somebody who's going to do the next right thing. And I can do that. I'm not a politician. I don't owe anything to anybody.
Right. This wasn't a goal. You didn't grow up saying, oh, one day I want to do this.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
I have no aspirations for this.
Yeah. That's what makes the best politicians. That makes the best politicians. Right. And you probably hang out with a lot of people that don't agree with you.
I work in the construction trades. We're a 50-50 split. And like I said, I'm in the union and I hold office there. When I'm acting as a union officer, I have to act in everybody's best interest. I can't focus on, well, this guy likes me, this guy agrees with me, this guy's going to vote for me, because it shouldn't matter.
Right.
On the job site, I've got all different kinds of personalities. When I am the foreman, when I am running the jobs, my primary concern is making sure I've got the right people working together on the right projects to keep everything moving.
Right.
That's my background, that's my experience, and that's my leadership style. I'm not there to tell people what to do. I am there to find out what needs to be done and figure out who can do it.
Right. And I don't know if I want to put this in or not, but I'm just curious. What made you And I think I know the answer. It's your upbringing, right? You're more attuned to equality and social issues because of what you went through growing up.
Yeah, I have to be. I didn't get where I am alone.
Right.
I did not. I am the product of everyone who ever interacted with me. I'm the product of everybody who ever gave me a chance. And I'm the product of everybody who ever stood in my way. When we lived with my grandparents when I was very young, up until I was 11, my grandmother was very, very devout Catholic. Mm-hmm. Grandfather was a firefighter. So, I understood early on the benefits of union representation and a good blue collar income. That's how I grew up. I grew up respecting that and respecting tradition. But I also saw the way that some of the things that they believed in were harming other people.
Yeah.
And
not intentionally.
Not intentionally.
Good intentions, yes.
Not at all. And an issue that doesn't play into my race at all, but speaks to a larger, cause and effect is abortion. There's two ways to prevent abortion. You make it illegal and say, no, you can't, or you fix the things that cause people to feel like they don't have a choice. Because nobody's out doing that for fun.
No.
That's not a,
no.
That's not the thing people
the word
do.
When people say people are pro-abortion, I mean, that does not exist.
No,
Nobody's pro-abortion.
It's the hardest decision people ever have to make.
Yes, and they live with it for their whole lives.
And they do it out of necessity, more often than not. So why not fix the things that make them feel like they have to? Better prevention, better economic situations, safety nets. And that was really the first thing that I saw, from my grandparents, pushing back, just the constant battle against Roe v. Wade and everything it did, but nothing on the other end, nothing to alleviate the causes. And that's what, that was one of the nudges that I got in the direction that I went.
Right.
Well, it's fine to say, no, you can't do that, but it doesn't fix anything.
Right.
And what we need are solutions. We need to fix the reasons things happen, not put a Band-Aid on them or just brush them aside and let the next guy deal with them. We need to handle all that now.
And that's what I think is great about you and Karen, who I just interviewed. You're problem solvers. You're looking at, there's not just an easy answer to anything. It's not black and white. These are complex issues. And we're putting you in your role, the people that are going to vote for you, not because you're saying, I believe this, period. You're saying, hey, I take the time to think about this. I learned the history. I learned the whole context. And then I'm working to make the best decision for the people around me.
Yeah.
And that's huge.
And in every decision, there's going to be winners and losers. And the job is really to figure out who can afford to give and who can't, and make sure you're not hurting the people who can't stand any more hurt.
Getting squeezed this week. More.
Yeah. We had a Purina plant built in Clermont County, got a 15-year tax abatement, promised all kinds of jobs, delayed. It's been delayed so long that now they have automated most of the jobs, but they've still got their tax abatement. So, what was going to be hundreds of jobs is now less than 100. The number of good jobs that were going to come, blue collar jobs, low experience jobs that still paid a good living wage, has all been automated now.
Yeah. So the ones where you could actually support your family, one job. Yeah. No, those don't exist.
And, those are gone now, but the tax abatement isn't. So they're going to save somewhere between $250,000 and $300,000 a year on that plant in property taxes. They'll still be paying the schools, but property tax is gone, nothing going into the roads, nothing going into the police, nothing going into fire. And they've, because the deal was structured bad. Purina can afford to pay $250,000 a year in property taxes.
Of course.
They're a multi-billion-dollar company. The people in Clermont County can't afford the tax increases for the expanded fire service, for the wear and tear on the roads from all the trucks coming in and out, and everything else that comes with it. And now the taxpayers are on the hook. And the promise was, oh, well, we're going to make all these jobs, and then these jobs are going to pay the income taxes, and people have nicer houses, and they'll pay more taxes. Why should the workers pay more taxes when a multi-billion-dollar company?
Give your final statement to the voters out there.
My final statement is, if I don't know you, if I don't get the opportunity to talk to you, I can't be a good leader for you. So please, if you have any questions or concerns, or if there's anything else you want to know about me, please reach out. You can find me on Facebook at Combs for Clermont. You can find me at combsforclermont.com. My email my email link is there. Please reach out if there's anything we didn't cover. If there's any questions or concerns you have, I'm here to listen.
Hello, Loveland. It's Emily Barlow, your local publisher of Loveland Lifestyle Magazine. It's a great time of year. So many amazing things are happening in Loveland. It's warm, it's sunny, and there's really no better place to be. And we at Loveland Lifestyle love covering all of the happenings. In addition to any new businesses opening, awesome new ventures that people are focusing on. We love covering everything Loveland, and we love partnering with new businesses. So if you're a new business and you've been thinking about working with Loveland Lifestyle, or maybe you're someone who would love to get a copy, but it's not delivered directly to your door, you can always reach out to us through our website, citylifestyle.com/Loveland. We'd love to hear from you.
Hello, this is Elise Knapschafer with another Loveland High School Weekly Update. So this week we had Labor Day off, which was definitely a well-needed rest for everyone to spend time with their family, with their friends, and especially getting ahead on work. This week we have auditions for the musical Elf, so anyone that's interested should definitely go out and check it out. We also have a lot of athletic events this week. We have 2 girls golf matches at home, 2 boys golf matches at home, 2 boys soccer games at home, volleyball game at home, and girls tennis at home. Friday is also a home football game versus Kings, and it's the Pink Ribbon game. So if you show up, the proceeds go to supporting the Pink Ribbon Good Foundation and supporting people with breast cancer and helping those that may need it. So I would definitely recommend going for a good cause and a good game.
Looking ahead in Loveland, the 2023 movie Frogman will have a special screening on October 12th at the Loveland Stage Company. The movie will start at 8:30, and it's for those 18 and over only. Tickets are now available on the Loveland Stage Company website for $12, but they are going fast, so make sure you get yours now so you don't miss it. By the way, this event supports my nonprofit Love Our Land. Generously, the producer, director of the movie, and Loveland Stage Company are both donating part of the proceeds to us. So we'll see you there. We'll have some merch. We'll talk about what we do, and then we'll get the party started. So get your tickets today. And if you have any events that you would like me to mention here on the podcast, please reach out to lovelandweekly@gmail.com. We have something truly special here in Loveland. Thank you for listening, and have a great week. This episode was produced and engineered by Mike Meldon right here in Loveland. Please note that the opinions expressed in the podcast do not necessarily represent the views of our sponsors or organization.